Okay, this is part 3 of our setup for our course design in an online learning space. And in this third part today, what we're going to look at is the module by module course setup. So if you haven't watched the first couple of videos, the first one deals with project by project course setup, and the second one deals with week by week course setup. I strongly encourage you to go back and review those because they also provide opportunities for you to really think about how to develop and organize your online course to meet the needs of your learners and the course outcomes that you have established for your course. So when we look at the things today in the module by module design, consider what you could also pull from project by project and what you could pull from week by week that will complement what you're doing. The key is consistency. What we're going to talk about today is not necessarily the only way to set up a module by module course design, but be consistent with how your course operates in its online space. So if students have to submit something every Wednesday, make sure that it's every Wednesday, not just the first Wednesday in weeks 1 and 3 and on Tuesday in weeks 2 and 4. Pay attention to things like that. Students do need some consistency. You can alter your activities, you can have variety in your discussions, and you can ask your students to do a lot of things, but give them some of that consistency that they need because they have that consistency when they walk to a specific location to participate in your face-to-face course. They walk into a specific place, they see you in a specific spot, they know sort of what the drill is going to be. And we need to have that same thing for them in an online space. So without further ado, let's look at how you can organize a module by module course. So consider a module being its own sort of learning space. And just like we talked about with week by week, each module can work independently of the module before it and after it, or you can connect them together so that each module builds on the module before. The thing to consider here is that modules don't necessarily occur in a week-long fashion. They could be 8 business days, they could be 2 weeks, whatever it is that best suits how your course needs to be organized. And as we've talked about with the other organization items, your introductory to the course module needs to be at the beginning, just like it was for project to project and just like it was for week to week. And again, introduce your course to your students. Use a video to humanize your course, to provide that element of, hey, I'm a real person and I'm speaking into this course. They can see you and hear you. Provide the syllabus for them so that they know what's coming. And I strongly recommend that you copy your syllabus from your Word document and paste it into D2L so it will scale appropriately for your students. They will not just engage your content on a computer, laptop, or desktop, but they'll frequently look at it in a mobile device as well. Provide a syllabus quiz. This is a very low stakes quiz that gets them used to the quizzing structure in your course and it gives them an opportunity to practice taking a quiz in that space. Create a Help Me discussion board. The Help Me discussion board is the place where students can virtually raise their hands and ask a question. You will need to help your students understand appropriate questions to ask on the discussion board and questions that need to be emailed directly to you or through some other private channel. The Help Me discussion board is where your students can raise their hand and ask a question regarding course content. So think of it that way. When you ask your students to participate in class and they raise their hand to ask a question, then this is where they can do that in your online space. And lastly, remind them to set some alarms on their phones to remind them to check into their course content. Have them set an alarm for Monday to remind them to read, and by Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock to remind them to put their first post in, or by Saturday at 5 p.m. to put in their second post, and maybe Sunday at 8 p.m. to successfully upload their project. Whatever it is and however it works best for you, have your students set those reminders, and you can send an announcement to have them do that to let them know, hey, you're paying attention to them and you see what they're doing. Then we look at module 1, and again, consider this as a module that takes more than 5 days to complete, up to 10 days, or however many days that you think the students will need to complete this specific piece of learning. Provide a video that talks about the module content, what's coming up. This is what it's going to look like. These are the learning goals that we're trying to reach. These are the activities that you're going to be participating in. This is the expecting learning outcome that you're going to have to reach. These are the challenges you're going to face. All those things that come with introducing new content to students. We're not specifically addressing content, but we're expressing overall goals, common issues, and things like that that could occur. Then you're going to create a model lecture. You're going to do the content. You're going to lecture to your students. This is what's going on. This is what I need you to do. This is the content. This is the important things. And you're going to have your slides available for them, and then other resources that you might need them to use as part of the learning process. Include a discussion board where students have a low stakes formative assessment check. Put some very rich questions into your discussion board. Require your students to respond to those specific questions and then to engage in conversations with each other. And it's a good idea too in classes that have more than 20 or 25 students to split your students up into groups of like 4 or 5 people. When you do that and you have those groups of 4 or 5 people work together, you can get extremely rich conversations. Then give them a formative assessment task and some sort of assignment, followed by a module quiz. So now we're getting to our summative assessment. Recap the week, and here it should say recap the module. Like, what did you see that you liked? What were the students doing really well with? Where did they struggle? And you can put that there. And then a weekly reminder, a weekly announcement of some sort. Again, this lets them know that you're participating in the course and that you're there. So when your students are working in discussion boards, there's a variety of ways to let your students know that you see what's going on there. One, let them do a lot of the talking. You know what they need to do. You know where they need to go. You can nudge them back into your lane. But it's not necessary for you to respond to every single post from every single student every single time. Sometimes students say things that are brilliant, and you need to acknowledge that. And sometimes students say things that indicate that they don't understand what's going on, and you need to nudge them. But on the other hand, it's very stressful to come back into every single discussion board every single time and look for all those things. So when you're putting your discussion boards together, a good rule of thumb is to have your students engage 2 or 3 other classmates, and not every single classmate, just like you're not going to engage every single classmate. But encourage your students to read every single post, just like you should do, so that you're aware of the conversations that are taking place in your class. Once you've wrapped up this module, we're on to module 2. And again, you'll see there are some very similar pieces here, from the content overview to the content lecture, to the PowerPoint slides, to the resources that are available, to a discussion board, to whatever your assignment or task is, to the quiz that the students need to take, to the recap of that video, and the reminders. And again, these modules don't necessarily need to be completed in a single week basis. And depending on how your course is set up, these modules could build on each other, or they could be in unique individual units of learning. So again, just like what we talked about with project by project and week by week, this is just a way that you can develop your course and put it together in an online space, so that there's consistency with what your students see, there's consistency with how they participate, and there's consistency with what they're expected to do.